All right, today we're diving into Uruguay. It's a country that might not always grab the headlines, but its story is one of, well, outsized success. Let's dig into how this small giant really came to be.
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? How does a nation with just over 3 million people, literally sandwiched between two massive countries, manage to become one of the most stable and prosperous places in the entire region? It's a fascinating puzzle.
You know, to really get Uruguay's story, you gotta start with its location on the map. It's got this super strategic spot on the South Atlantic coast, tucked right between the massive territories of Argentina and Brazil. And just to give you a sense of scale here, the whole country is a little bit smaller than the U.S. state of Washington. It's actually South America's second smallest country, right after Suriname. And that fact alone makes its economic and social achievements all the more incredible.
So you might be wondering, where did all this stability come from? Well, let me tell you, it wasn't always a smooth ride. Uruguay's path was forged through some pretty intense colonial struggles, a fight for independence, and even a period of military rule before it really found its footing as the modern democracy we see today.
Let's just quickly walk through this journey. It all starts as a Spanish military outpost, which is then followed by a really hard-won independence from Brazil. But you know, like a lot of its neighbors, things took a dark turn in the 70s with a military dictatorship. The really crucial part, though, is what happened next. They restored civilian rule in 1985, and then, and this is a big one, in 2004, a major election completely broke a 170-year hold that just two parties had on politics. That shows a real capacity for change and democratic growth.
Look, you just can't talk about Uruguay without talking about the land itself. The country is pretty much all rolling plains and low hills, a terrain that's just perfect for agriculture. And this geography isn't just a backdrop, it is the absolute foundation of their national economy.
Get this, almost 70% of the entire country is permanent pasture. Just think about that for a second. That one staggering number tells you almost everything you need to know about Uruguay's economic engine. It is, through and through, a nation built on grazing land.
And all that pasture land, well, it translates directly into what they sell. As you'd expect, beef and milk are huge, but their agricultural game is also pretty diverse, with things like rice, soybeans, and even wood pulp. It's a super clear line right from the land to the economy. So we have this huge agricultural landscape, but who's actually living there? Well, the population is surprisingly small. We're talking just 3.4 million people. That's about the same as the state of Connecticut, but spread across a country the size of Washington.
And here's the twist. Even though the economy is so rural, the population is overwhelmingly urban. Nearly half of all Uruguayans live in or right around the capital, Montevideo. This creates this really fascinating contrast, a massive pastoral countryside that supports a highly concentrated city-dwelling population.
And that concentrated urban population, well, they also enjoy a remarkably high standard of living. A few key stats really show just how much Uruguay stands out in its region.
Okay, first up, education. Just check this out, a literacy rate of almost 99%. Wow, that's one of the highest you'll find anywhere in the Americas, and it points to a really deep, long-term investment in their people.
And that progress, it doesn't stop there. It carries right over into healthcare. The average life expectancy is almost 79 years old. That puts Uruguay right on par with a lot of Western European nations and really signals a high quality of life.
And here's one that might surprise you, especially for a nation so tied to agriculture. 90% of the population is online. So when you put it all together, literacy, health, connectivity, you get a crystal clear picture of a thoroughly modern society.
So how does this small, super-developed society pay for it all? It really comes down to being an export-focused, high-income nation that just masterfully leverages its natural advantages.
And their economic output? It's seriously impressive. A real GDP per capita of $32,000. That number right there firmly places Uruguay in the high-income club, making it one of the most prosperous nations in all of South America.
So, what's their secret? How do they pull this off? Honestly, their economic model is both simple and incredibly effective. They sell what their land provides, wood pulp, beef, all those agricultural goods. And in return, they buy what they need to keep the whole engine running: crude oil, vehicles, and fertilizers. Pretty smart. So when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, what you see is a country that has totally defied its small size to become a real leader in the region. It's a story of stability, freedom, and just really intelligent economic management.
You don't even have to take my word for it. This quote from the World Factbook kind of says it all. Uruguay's political and labor conditions are among the freest on the South American continent. That really drives home the point that their success isn't just about money, it's about building a truly free and open society.
And all of this leaves us with one big question to chew on. In a world that's so often complex and volatile, what can other nations, big or small, learn from this small giant's journey? From a military stronghold to a beacon of stability? Well, that's definitely something worth thinking about.